If you're like me and your designs currently look like this, then this video is perfect for you, because I tried to learn the basics of design and how to use Figma, a free design tool, in just one single day. And if you want to become a pro at design, like me, you should watch till the end. So for the design part, I just needed to learn the basics to make, well, a good design. So easy to consume, memorable, fun, whatever. And the other part is Figma, where I just wanted to learn the general tools, and then there's more specific tools, maybe a little bit more unique to Figma, that make it really interesting, like auto layout, components, styles, prototypes, and I think that's it. Since you only really learn something whenever you apply it, I will do just that. I have 2 Instagram pages where I need to create content. So one is an informational page about Japan stuff, and the other one is my startups page where we need to share information about our product and small little updates. And ideally, I will apply everything I learn about the basics of design and about Figma, and that'll be a great tutorial for you. I spent the first hour-ish just learning the basics of design. Figma has cool blog articles and lessons on their website. I also consulted some other sources, mostly YouTube, that I'll link in the description. The first lesson of the basics of design is really simple, because it is keep it simple. The rule to follow here is less is more. So instead of jam-packing information and making it confusing, only have one clear, concise, and short message that you want to convey. The next thing you need to know is that you should use empty space. Using empty space is a lot easier on the eyes because you give your design room to breathe, which is difficult because naturally we just kind of want to fill that void. Color and size matters. You have to think about what you make colorful, what you make black and white, and how big certain elements are, because that brings us to the next really important point: hierarchy. Important things need to be emphasized by color, size, or whichever, while other less important things need to look less important so that naturally the user knows what to focus on first. Because if everything is important, nothing is. And hierarchy is one way we create contrast. Contrast is really important to differentiate objects, so either one is more important than the other, or we want to emphasize the juxtaposition. It is also relevant for readability, like don't use a light font on a light background, but I knew that already. And the last point, consistency. Design should match content and tone, so sinister content should not be too colorful. And since I want to be informational, I cannot be too crazy artistic and colorful. The goal is to convey information. And there should also be consistency in branding, hence why we need a style guide. Content should be recognizable even without a logo. But there's more stuff I could have gotten into in way more detail, but that would just have been too much. Like typography, of course I could have created my own font, but I feel like that's unnecessary and the basics are more than good enough. I'll just use the default font that Figma or other apps give me because most of the time that's more than good enough. Helvetica is awesome. The last trick for the basics of design is to copy the masters. There's a lot of people who are insanely good at design that we can just copy. And I don't mean just flat out copy everything, but find inspiration, copy with pride, or whatever, steal with pride, that was the thing. Just go on other Instagram pages, or I'll look into other designers, what they do and how they do it, and I'll try to use their style and apply it to my content. And that will help me learn whatever they are doing until one day I'll find my own perfect style. Now that we got this stupid design stuff out of the way, let's get into Figma, what it is, what you can do with it, and what it can do to you. Figma is a web-based vector graphic and prototyping tool. This means you can design pretty much anything from scratch and even make click dummies, so interactive web and app design. So let's take a look at the general tools of Figma and how it generally works. Like in most apps, there is a toolbar with the move and scale tool, the frame tool, the general shape stuff tool like circles, rectangles, then the pen and pencil tool, and finally the text tool. So this means if you want to create a post or anything in Figma, this is the general process of what you would do. First, you create a frame, which is going to be the visible part of whatever masterpiece you're creating. Figma even offers you a preset of common sizes from which you can choose. Then you throw some text in it, then some forms, then some sexy lines, and bim bada boom, you're a designer. Believe it or not, but that was actually pretty easy to learn. So, you know, I'm kind of a pro. I used my newfound skills to create some posts I already had in mind. As you can see here, with some informational posts about Japanese concepts or something. And then I played around a bit with big words on pictures because I need to get your attention somehow. But now let's look at some more specific features of Figma, like the auto layout. The auto layout lets you automatically adjust the layout whenever you play around with your frame. The word actually does make a lot of sense. All you have to do is create a few frames, put them together in an auto layout, and you can adjust it. Adjust the distance between the frames or make the layout vertical or horizontal. And now we can adjust the settings of the objects to make them responsive for whenever we change the size of the frame. This becomes even more fun once you use auto layouts inside of auto layouts. Here I just quickly threw together a page to show you what this nested auto layout would look like. You can see how different parts respond differently. The auto layout feature in Figma is really useful if you want to create or have responsive websites, which I don't. But I've found it quite useful to create a list system for my social media posts. Let's get into the next cool feature of Figma, which is the styles. Styles lets you create a style guide that you can easily apply to all your designs. So let's create one. Step 1, text style guide. Now, in my infographics, I don't have this many different types of text, just titles, logo, basic text, and some Japanese looking font. The text can be edited here on the right with font options, size, cursive, bold, and whatnot. And now when I change the style, it automatically updates all of my designs. For the color style, well, I don't really have one. I'm basic in just using black, white, and this random gradient that I thought looked kinda cool. And just like with text, you can adjust the settings of the color or even pictures here on the right. Same for the effect style. I don't really have an application for it now except for drop shadow that might be useful someday, but maybe you're more creative than me and find cool applications. Now you can take the styles a step further and create components. You can create one original component from which you can make several instances. Then just by changing the master component, all the instances change as well. Now, I didn't work much with the component feature, mostly because I just don't need it, but I think it's really useful if you do app design or web design. Same as the next feature, prototypes. When you create an app or a website, you need several different pages that are linked to each other. With a prototype feature, you can create those links. So when you click on a button or hover over something, you can get to the next page. I can actually see the prototype feature being useful if you want to make presentations, but that might be a little bit over the top because PowerPoint just works for the most of us. But if you want to be really cool, then that's what you should do, definitely. But now let's get to the coolest feature of Figma, which works in tandem with the last lesson we learned with the basics of design, which is copy the masters. The Figma community. Other Figma users create designs and templates that they share with us. And this community has pretty much everything. Different websites, infographics, Instagram posts, app designs, and even resumes. Then we simply need to copy it and adapt it to our needs. So this was a lot of fun to learn, and I think I created something quite useful for myself with the templates and the system for me to make more content in the future, so you're very welcome. I can really recommend it if you want to get into design. This is a great start to become a little bit more professional than just using Canva. So I'll give this a 10 out of 10, mostly because it's free and I had a lot of fun and this is useful and it'll make me more money in the future. Follow if you want to learn more skills in a single day, or if you just want to see me attempt learning new skills in a single day.